All right, welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Armchair GMs, the show where we will help you win a fantasy football Super Bowl championship. I am Brad. I'm joined by Kyle, and finally, for the first time this season, Luke. If you don't know Luke, check out our other videos on our page. He is our third host, but usually is busy on Wednesdays. But luckily, we have him this week. Um, that being said, I'm sure we'll have friends here soon with lots of comments and questions. But until then, Kyle, let's slide on over to Jock's grades, which I can't put up because I'm going to kill Luke. Give me 1 second. You go ahead and talk.
Jock's grades are A for this week. I bet you guessed it, people. It's James Conner with a surprising 40 points, 3 touchdowns. I didn't really see this coming. He averaged about 12 a game up until that point, and then boom, 20 carries, 96 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 catches for 77 yards, 40 points. Brad, do you think this is an anomaly, or do you think without a Kyler Murray-led Cardinals offense, James Conner can put up big numbers?
Without Kyler Murray to take away those goal line snaps, those little QB runs and sneaks, this might be the new normal with James Conner. And it's weird because most fantasy analysts before the season started would have told you to stick with Chase Edmonds over James Conner. But James Conner has really taken over that backfield. He has proven that he can be that workhorse, that he can take that kind of load. I would stick with James Conner, and it's all going to hinge on what happens to I almost said Colt McCoy. Kyler Murray this week. We don't care about Colt McCoy. Kyler Murray. Definitely going to be a new norm if he's out.
Yeah, the first 2 games, he had a combined 8 points, and you're like, okay, not worth it. But after that, he's been pretty good every week. So he's definitely a surprise for this year, but well-deserving of our A. Our B grade is Carson Wentz. I just want to give a little shout-out to my boy Carson. He's come a long way since his Eagle days, and everybody hating on him and calling him trash and injury-prone, and maybe he is injury-prone. However, from a fantasy perspective, he is 10th this year for quarterbacks. 30 points. The last 5 games, he's had 26, 21, 24, 24, and 30. And it helps that he's playing in a division that's trash other than the Titans. But he still put up pretty good numbers against Titans. So if he can keep this going, bodes well for his fantasy value. Also bodes well for the Colts. Even though the last 4 games of the season, he does play New England, Arizona, and the Las Vegas Raiders, all pretty good fantasy defenses. So hopefully he can keep this up. But I don't know if he will. What do you think?
He could. I'm not sold because in terms of what do I think is most fantasy relevant on the Colts offense would be Jonathan Taylor. And I still think JT is going to eat, but it was really weird to see not only Carson, but Hines be involved in the offense, in a large capacity. It could continue, guys. It really could. I'm not sold that that's going to be every week. Like when you hit a team like the Cowboys that have a good defense, when you hit a team like the Packers who have a defense, like when you hit these teams that have a better defense, will he do the same thing? But when you play the Jets, no one here is going to call the Jets an elite defense. When you play Jacksonville, when you play Houston, I'm not sold that he's going to keep that up, especially because they have some tougher games in the back half of their schedule. Like Tampa Bay at home is going to be rough for them because Tampa Bay has a really good defense. Look for that week for Carson to maybe struggle a little bit and JT getting a lot more runs. So I like Carson. Great. Good for you, man, that you're doing great. But I'm not going to put all my chips into that one.
But definitely still fantasy relevant and a good backup to have. And if you had him as your starter the last 5 weeks, he probably did pretty well. Next is our C. That's Christian McCaffrey, 14.6 points. That's good. Definitely not what we want to see out of McCaffrey. That's why I'm giving him a C, because this year, just like if you drafted him in the first round, which is where he went in most leagues, yeah, he's deserving of that C because he's just been, not available. And he's been available in 4 games, and 2 of those games just not very good. So I'm going to give him my C.
He is, in my opinion, trash.com. And you know who he reminds me of? Todd Gurley. Like, it's the same kind of, like, yeah.
These running backs don't have long shelf life. So
if you have McCaffrey, try to get the most out of him in a trade. That's what I'll say at this point. You can come back and yell at me about that if he like turns it on. But listen, when you sit most of the season out in fantasy with your first round draft pick, that is bad. Isn't even a like good enough word for it.
But look at his defenses that he plays. Like, and this is why you might want to trade him. He plays Arizona's defense. He plays Buffalo's, Tampa Bay's twice, New Orleans. Now he does play Atlanta's defense. He has a bye, and he plays Washington's defense as well. But like the rest of those, that's tough, and especially without a Sam Darnold. Like, I understand that without Sam, you might be thinking, oh, well, they're just going to give it to Christian McCaffrey all the time, and he's going to get a lot of touches, and he might. But I just don't think that entire team bodes well without Sam Darnold and a oft-injured Christian McCaffrey, a Robbie Anderson that's pissed off every week. So it's just kind of a cluster for the Panthers right now, and it's not good to see.
No. Well, I mean, if I was Robbie Anderson, I feel like I'd be pretty frustrated when Sam Darnold is my quarterback and he's very hot and cold. So Teddy Bridgewater was more consistent than Sam Darnold has been for them this year. So maybe that was a bad move for the Panthers for a year.
Yeah, I think they're going to look for quarterback for sure, which is, I mean, I expected them to anyway, but I had like a 10%, chance that like, oh, maybe Sam Darnold, was held back and he'll do well. But it just looks like he can't really get out of his own head and get out of his own way. So,
but again, remember when we talked about, and this is like way back in Jock's history, when we were talking mock drafts, I had Justin Fields going to the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted them to take a quarterback too.
Because I wasn't sold on Darnold, and I'm still not. Like, at best, like, meh. So, welcome to your first Jock's grades, Luke.
No.
The meat of the episode, as we all know, is our next segment, Sleeper Seekers. Would you like to talk about last week or this week?
Yeah. I can talk about last week if you want me to.
Sure.
Okay. So from last week, I picked these guys from last week, and then I picked this week as well. Pretty average, I would say. We have Boston Scott and Jordan Howard. Boston Scott didn't do diddly squat. However, Jordan Howard had 13.10 points, and that's decent. They have a 3 running back group right now with Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, Jordan Howard. They are running the ball a lot more, which is good to see. However, Kenny Gainwell's production and touches have gone way, way down. So I think Jordan Howard is probably the play from here on out. So 13.10 is not bad for Jordan Howard. Jeremy McNichols, who's the backup to Derrick Henry, I really thought he'd see the most touches, but apparently it's AP and Deonta Foreman. So did not see that coming, so screw me on that. Russell Gage, 13.4 points. That's pretty good for Russell Gage. And, again, he is in and out of the lineup, injured, not injured. But when he sees the field, when he's on the field, he produces. That was pretty good if you played him. Next, Pat Freiermuth, 21.3 points. Listen, this man just scores touchdowns, and he's getting like 8 targets a game right now. Ben's always looking his way in the red zone. So he's definitely a start for me. If you have him, put him at tight end. And if you have a flex, the wide receiver, running back, tight end flex, you can probably even play him here too, because I think he can get you a solid 12, 13 a game. Next is Trevor Simeon. He had 19.96 points, which is average and better than Sam Darnold. So, if you're really desperate on a quarterback, or if you had a 2-quarterback league, which I know a lot of people do, it's not a bad pickup there. And lastly, Rex Burkhead, the stinker of this group, 2 points. Listen, I don't know anything about that Texans running back group. I know who they have. I know their names. I know how good they are. But in reality, their whole team's just horrible. And I don't think you can trust any one of those running backs. So if you have any one of them, I might drop them, honestly. Like even David Johnson, I would drop him if I were you. So none of those guys are worth playing in my book. It's probably only Brandon Cooks on that offense is worth playing, and that's it. So,
which is sad, but
Yeah.
unfortunately incredibly true.
Yeah.
Freiermuth was probably my favorite pick out of that, and certainly showed it against a decent Bears defense. So last week's Sleeper Seekers, but what everybody wants to hear is this week's Sleeper Seekers. Let's start out with the hot man, the hot hand, the guy that I've said is going to be the big face of the Jets. So nice for that to finally pan out, even though I let go of him long ago. Thanks so much for waiting until I let you go off. I appreciate it.
It's how it usually goes.
Yeah, it's Elijah Moore. Listen, he had 27.4 points against a pretty good Colts defense, especially fantasy-wise, to be in the top 5 for defenses. That's pretty good. So a word of caution. He is good. Corey Davis is coming back. But I think that Elijah Moore proved that he can be a massive cog in that offense if they'll look his way. And now we're starting to see what people talked about in training camps, etc., like where he is supposed to be and the things he's supposed to do. A word of caution. He does play Buffalo next week. So I'm very on the fence, Kyle. Maybe you can help me here. Buffalo did struggle to do anything against Jacksonville. But for the most part, their defense has been solid. Are we avoiding Elijah Moore as a start this week?
I don't think so. I think Corey Davis is still out, I believe. I'd have to check that. Now, Elijah Moore is only projected to get like 5, and I get it. Buffalo's defense
would you check that for us to see if Corey Davis is coming back?
Sure, yeah, not a problem.
Thank you.
I still start him. If you look at his last 3 games, he's had 6 targets, and then 8 targets. And he's not just a deep threat guy. He's not just a guy that someone sticks their best corner on. Like, I don't think the Bills' strategy is going to be, let's stick Tre'Davious White and Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to. I think the Jets are just that bad. We're like, we don't need to. Let's just play our base defense and see what happens. I think the Jets are smart. Well, they're not smart. Okay, let me back up. Their organization is kind of stupid right now. But offensively, he's their best weapon, I think. So they're smart. They should get him the ball, continue to get him the ball, Michael Carter the ball, some young guys that you just drafted.
Right.
I think they're going to force feed it to him. So he probably won't get 27, but I could see him getting at least like 14 or 15 this week.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely looks like he's going to be there. It looks like he's going to be playing.
Yeah, Corey Davis. Okay. Justin, what is up, man? Let's jump into your question. Do I trade away DJ Moore and get Julio and Devontae Smith? This is for his flex spot. He said, or he could do Boyd and Julio or Boyd and Smith. Honestly, your first trade is probably your best one. Julio has a great upside. We all know it. Derrick Henry is out. They're going to be looking to the air a lot more. Devontae Smith is coming alive as that wide receiver one for the Eagles, as he should have been. And DJ Moore is struggling because his quarterback is, as we said earlier, Sam Darnold. Listen, if you can get rid of DJ Moore and get Julio and Devontae Smith, that would be my first thought. Yeah. Tyler Boyd is great, but Tyler Boyd is like the 3rd or 4th option at this point in that offense. I would rather go with Julio and Smith and get the upside with Julio and the proven side with Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I'd definitely go Julio and Devontae Smith. DJ Moore has just been below average the last 5 games.
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea to hop off that train. And I think Devontae Smith's stock is rising. So, like, Smith's only going to get better, right? I think DJ Moore's stock is only going to get worse with Sam Darnold being out. Julio's up and down, but I think, like, potentially, like you said, Brad, potential there for Julio Jones is still great. I think he can do what DJ Moore can do for you. So, for sure, do it. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still with us, but I shot him a message and told him to take Julio and Smith. If you are still with us, keep hanging out, and we're going to help you with some sleeper seekers, and we'll absolutely help you with any trade questions you have too, man. So Elijah Moore would probably be about 15 points, you're saying, against the Bills. Corey Davis is coming back, but I still – yeah, dude, you're totally welcome. This is like my favorite part of this whole show is to just answer questions. So let's move to our second sleeper seeker, Nyheim Hines. What a nice surprise for the people that have Hines in one of their leagues to have 20.8 points. The disappointing thing is not starting him. If you did start him, great, good for you. I had someone start him against me, and that was totally unexpected because that's 12 points above what his projected was, which was about 8. Now, we know JT is the lead back. That's not going to change anytime soon. Hines is primarily a receiving back in the backside. However, they do play the stinkers, the Jacksonville Jaguars. If there's a week that I think that you should pick up Hines and roll with him, this would be the week. This would absolutely be the week to get him in there. Any thoughts on that? Like, would you avoid him against Jacksonville? I don't see why you wouldn't. Or would you just stick with JT if you had JT?
I mean, if you have JT, I wouldn't play Nyheim Hines. But if you had Nyheim Hines, I'd play him. I think he's always a good flex option, especially against Jacksonville. So, I mean, there are – I don't know. There's not a big amount of players in the Colts, like, mouths to feed. It's only really Pittman, JT, and Nyheim Hines. So I think the screen game is very helpful for the Colts. I think that's going on strong. And I think they're going to continue to rely on the run because that's what works with Wentz best. So I think that strategy is going to keep being the same moving forward. So I think Hines is still a good play.
Justin's coming back to us. He's got a team: Stafford, Wentz, Aaron Jones, James Robinson, Javonte Williams, Darrell Williams, A.J. Dillon, Tyreek Hill, JJ. Why can't I think of who JJ is? Oh,
Justin
Julio
Jefferson.
Jones. Or Justin Jefferson. Yeah, you're right. Waddle, DJ Moore, A-Rob, Gallup, Pitts, and Schultz. 6-3 and a 10-man. That's not bad, man.
It's a good team.
Yeah, if you can move DJ Moore for those two guys, I'd do it because that just makes it even more solid. Yeah, I'm a little slow today. I've had a little
yeah, you don't even need DJ Moore with that lineup, honestly.
No.
If anything, I would see if I can get a running back with those guys. Like, if you wanted to trade DJ Moore and, like, James Robinson for someone, I might do that.
Yeah. But I agree with you. Yes, Julio is injury prone, but DJ Moore may not get a ball thrown in his direction. So I feel like that's why I said Julio's ceiling is really high. If Julio's there, they're going to throw the ball to Julio and A.J. Brown. I don't know who else they're going to throw it to on the Titans. But Smith alone makes the deal worth it because if you run a keeper league, you can just keep him if he goes off and stays like that. So in hindsight, it may not help you right now, but in future, I always think future for playoffs. I always think future for the back half of the season. It would be decent. But I agree with Kyle. If you're really not feeling wide receivers on this trade and you feel iffy about it, go after a running back maybe. Would you a redraft league? So you wouldn't keep him. That's okay though because Smith is still going to have a favorable matchup down in the back half of the season because he's going to play division rivals, and the only difficult one is the Cowboys. He wouldn't give up Carter.
Giants twice, football team twice.
Yeah. He said he wouldn't give up Carter. That sucks because I would say Michael Carter is a good deal. But I get it with people being a little hesitant about DJ Moore that I would get that would not be I want to trade for this guy. Yeah. Let's see. Who else do we have on our sleeper seekers for the week? I'm gonna butcher his name, and it's gonna be great. Olamide Zacchaeus. I know the last name, but not the first one. Olamide, something that sounds weird. He kind of supplanted Russell Gage, which I didn't expect to happen. I thought Russell Gage would be next man up. He had 20.8 points against the Saints. Now, that's not bad against a defense. The only thing that concerns me about him and my caution for picking him up, he had 3 targets, and 2 of them were for touchdowns. But he needed those touchdowns to be incredibly relevant. So, I mean, I still agree. Like, yeah, he's going to be a good receiver. I would still pick him up. But just don't be upset if he doesn't have like 25 points or more again, unless he's like touchdown dependent. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, pick them up. Like a lot of these guys that we tell you every week are guys that like you should pick up. Like some of them, yeah, start. Some of them just keep on your bench until they show you more. And then once they go off, you're like, oh, I have him. People are like, when'd you get him? Oh, I got him in like week 3. You know? So like we're not saying to start these guys. Elijah Moore, yeah. Maybe. Naeem Hines, maybe. Zacchaeus, no. But keep him up in case you know, I mean, Ridley's out, right? So we don't know how long he's going to be out.
Yeah.
And if Zacchaeus gets 20 points in a game, chances are, you know, the Falcons are going to be like, well, maybe this guy can show us something, and maybe he'll get more targets. And then,
if we know one thing, Julio was Ryan's favorite target forever. And now with Calvin Ridley out, you don't have that number 1 target. I mean, yeah, Cordarrelle, yeah, Pitts, but they're not. He doesn't look at them for like every play like he did with freaking Julio Jones. So you have a better shot of expanding out and looking for other guys, I guess is kind of the point that Kyle was getting at. So again, it's somebody to hang on to, see what happens later. The next one is one that Kyle and I have kind of been hoping would happen. Because we both kind of agreed that was a good pick for the Bears, but then they had Jimmy Graham last year, and it kind of made him useless. Cole Kmet had 14.7 points. In the last 4 games, he's averaging about 9 points. Listen, that doesn't sound like a lot, but for a tight end, that's pretty good. And let's be honest, like for the Bears, for Justin Fields to be targeting the tight end quite a bit, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's probably going to continue because he's younger. He's not going to just throw a 50-yard dime every freaking play with that O-line. Tight ends and running backs are going to benefit like crazy out of him. I like it. Now, he is on a bye this week. This is definitely a guy not to put in your lineup. So pick him up, run a little waiver on him, just hang on to him, see what happens. Let's go to the last one, a personal favorite of mine. I picked him up a couple weeks ago in both leagues and then dropped him in one and kept him in another just to see what would happen. It's Rashad Bateman. He has 10.2 points, averaging about 9 in the last 3 games, and next he plays the Dolphins. He was leading the team at one point in targets in the air, which is crazy when you consider that they have Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews. But it seems like Lamar trusts Rashad Bateman, and that was our biggest concern is when he gets to play, is he going to have that rapport with Lamar Jackson? And he kind of got it. Lamar was there. Lamar was like, okay, I'm going to throw it your way. See what you can do, Rook. And he's done it, and he's done it well. He's dangerous. He's sneaky. I don't like that Sammy Watkins is coming back to play this week, but I'm still going to trust in Rashad Bateman being that number 2 option in wide receivers, that is, because we know Mark Andrews is the second. But Rashad Bateman is still seeing a lot of targets for a team that likes to run. He could be deadly, especially against the Dolphins. I might even say run him at the flex. Kyle, agree?
Yeah, I think these last 2 guys, Kmet and Bateman, are both younger guys. Kmet's second year, Bateman's a rookie. Guys that are just kind of scratching the surface in their respected offenses. So I think these are guys to pick up, and I think eventually they could probably get to that 13, 14, 15 a game because they are that good.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah.
That will wrap up Sleeper Seekers for the week. Luke, I promise I'll get you involved in the next one.
Hey, not a problem. Not a problem. No, I've just been looking up stats for you guys in case you guys want to pull anything up real quick.
Oh, great. Well, then we'll kind of lean on you in this next one then. So Jock or Joke, you are familiar with this. We kind of toyed around with this back in the old Jocks of All Trades stuff. But we found a really good home for it here. Let's start out, Kyle. I'm going to start by attacking my own team. Devontae Freeman, is he a jock or is he a joke?
I'm gonna say he's a joke. Lamar is still that entire offense, right?
Yep.
He's probably the entire running game. They still have Le'Veon Bell. Yes, he had 16 points the last game. That's really impressive. But it's still only 13 carries. Like, it's not a lot, especially he's kind of touchdown dependent because he's not going to see a lot of catches out in the backfield, I don't think. So that was really nice. However, they play Cleveland twice, Pittsburgh twice. They play Chicago's defense, the Rams defense. So it might be tough sledding from here on out for him. I think if you're desperate for running back, like, play him. But yeah, I think he's a joke still.
Okay. Luke, I will sling you the next one, and then we'll rely on Kyle here for stats.
Sure, not a problem.
Dalvin Cook is not in the top 5 running backs this year, but he's still producing when he is on the field. My question for you, does this make Dalvin a jock or a joke?
I think it's important to take into account context and and expectation. And if you go from expectation, I would have to say joke, because at the beginning of the season, he had number 1 pick potential. And you expect, when you pick a number 1 pick, you expect them to be there every week, and you expect them to be consistent, and you expect them to bring in consistent point totals. And Dalvin has not done that. He's one of those backs where you expect to bring in 20 plus points regularly.
Yeah.
He hasn't done that regularly at all, and in a lot of cases, he hasn't even been playing because he's been injury prone this season. So, for those who took him in the first round, like yours truly, he's kind of not panned out very well at all, and so I kind of have to assign joke just purely based on expectation level.
Right. Here's a secondary question to that then. So not only is Dalvin Cook outside the top 10 running backs, outside of the top 10 receivers is Justin Jefferson. So is this more telling about the Vikings offense, or is it more telling about those two players kind of cooling off after last year?
I think it's probably more of a scheme thing for the Vikings than not. I think that it's an offense that needs to be revamped. I mean, we know that a running game can work. That multiple teams have shown us that running the ball can work. I mean, you look at the Cowboys a few years ago, how it was like, oh, we'll just give it to Zeke Elliott and let him just eat yards for us. It works. I'm just not sure the Vikings have the scheme to make something like that work. And what really helped Zeke was you had a QB like Dak being able to throw the ball. And I'm not sure Kirk Cousins is on Dak's is on Dak's level when it comes to that. So
right.
Teams are kind of able to load up on the box for the Vikings and just kind of wait for Dalvin to try to run the ball, and it doesn't work.
Yep. That was excellent for somebody that says they can't talk fantasy. Let's do one more because I want to torture you. Justin Fields didn't go where everyone thought he was going to go in the draft. went to a team that not everybody said was going to be the best team for him. He struggled early, but he's kind of come into his own the past couple weeks. So the real question is Justin Fields a jock or a joke? And I'll give you one more, or is it too early to tell?
Oh, thank you for that last one, because I will say too early to tell.
Yeah.
And he needs to be put. I mean, Justin Fields on the team that he has now, I would say it has to be a joke because he needs an O-line to protect him. And if you don't have that, it's not going to work well for you. It's not going to go well for you. Now, he has performed well the past couple of weeks. I mean, last week, this past week against Pittsburgh, he had 20.14 points. The week before that against San Francisco, he had 27.3 points. So he's getting better. I just want to see him get more protection on that Bears O-line so that he can actually start finding weapons like Allen Robinson more consistently. And so if he keeps doing what he's doing, I'd say he's a jock. I personally think he has the potential to be a very good NFL QB. He just needs some extra armor on that O-line.
Yeah. Yep, that's pretty solid. Kyle, I'm going to give you a double-edged sword this week. You can talk about both separately. You can talk about them together. I'm interested in the Titans running game. Adrian Peterson, Donta Freeman, and Jeremy McNichols. Who there is the jock and who there is the joke? What do you think?
It's so tough because none of them played well. Like just they didn't play well. I mean, fantasy-wise, yeah, I think Peterson had the most points because he had a touchdown, but not any of them played well at all. Here's the thing. McNichols was a low draft pick a few years ago from the Buccaneers. He got cut. Like, I remember him getting cut on Hard Knocks. And he found his way back in the NFL with the Titans. So, like, it's good for him, happy for him, and I thought he was going to be fantasy relevant because of Henry going out. But I don't think from a talent perspective he's, like, incredibly, I don't think he's worth the number one guy. Them signing Peterson and then promoting him the next day to the active roster kind of tells me that, like, they've had this plan for a little bit. Because I don't think you just sign a guy to the practice squad and promote him the next day. Like, that doesn't happen very often. I think why they did that is because they don't have enough trust in McNichols to carry the load. So I think Peterson will end up being the jock, and I think McNichols will be the joke out of all of them. Yeah. And then maybe Deonta Foreman being the half jock.
Yeah. The half jock. Let me answer this real quick. Is DJ Moore a top 20 wideout ROs or not? Not sure what ROs is, but right now he is listed as our wide receiver 11. The problem is I don't think it's going to continue without Darnold because against Atlanta and New England, Atlanta he posted 9.9 points. In New England he posted 7.6. Yikes. That's not what you want. So it's been steadily declining. I see. Rest of the season. I gotcha. Is he top 20 rest of the season? He does have good matchups against Washington and Miami, but you're gonna have to play the Cardinals, the Cardinals, the Falcons, which he didn't do good against, the Bills and the Buccaneers. So I mean, if you're looking for a playoff push, those are some really, really, really tough games that you want him to produce a lot of points out of without potentially Sam Darnold. So I wouldn't do it personally. You can, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Let's see. We have one more on jock or joke. I would like to hear from both of you on this one. Hit me with, is Cortland Sutton a jock or a joke?
Well, a couple of years ago, he was a jock. When he was healthy, he was a jock. I I think it's hard for me to say just because Bridgewater is just not quite there yet in terms of seeing the whole field, in terms of getting the ball downfield, making accurate throws. I mean,
Yeah,
he had a stretch where he went off, but now he's on another stretch where he's like nowhere to be found, and these are against really bad defenses too.
Yeah.
So he's going to play some really tough defenses. The Chargers, the Raiders, the Chargers again, Kansas City. Their defense does suck, but they don't give up a lot of points to receivers. So I think maybe against the Eagles, I think he'll get more than the 3.9 that he put out last week. But
in general,
yeah, I think the 6 that he had, the 3.9 that he had, I don't think you're going to see that very often. I think it's more around like 10 or 11. But for me, that's still kind of a joke. So
Yeah. I mean, you look at the good games he's had. He's only really had like 3 plus 20-point games, and it's been against the Jags, the Raiders, and the Steelers, all of which aren't real quality teams. So, and then past that, again, really his ceiling has been 10 to 11 points, and then it's kind of been, kind of higher single digits. It's with that, I would have to say joke. I do believe there are better options at wide receiver out there, and I think you're better off just going week to week, looking at who's got better matchups. Now, if you find a great matchup for him, then yeah, that can work. But normally, don't just grab him and hold him.
Yeah, I agree. Good takes, guys. Love it. That will wrap up Jock or Joke for this week. Let's move to Trade Bait, where we talk about who you should be looking at. So usually we'll do like tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. This week I want to do quarterbacks. And I'm so curious to see what either one of you can take it. Both of you can take it. I don't care. Justin Fields. Are we trading for Justin Fields, or are we trading away Justin Fields?
if you're in a keeper league, trade for him. If you're not, trade him away.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I think he definitely has shown you this year that he has a lot of potential with his legs, with his arm. If he gets a better coach, I think that's pretty apparent. They're going to go somewhere else next year. And I think a lot of people will be like, oh, he has a new coach, new coordinator. He has to learn a whole new system, so his development's going to be stunted. But I think the opposite. I think when new coaches come in, they have a whole new system. Teams really don't know how to prepare for it. And if he's smart, which I think he should be smarter than Matt Nagy, I think that's going to bode very well for Fields' fantasy stock next year. So I would trade for him in a keeper league. If he's in your free agency pool, I'd pick him up. So,
yeah. How about Derek Carr, guys? Are we trading for Derek Carr or away? The Raiders have kind of been dumpster fiery here the past couple weeks, so I was curious to see what everybody thinks about him.
First of all, did you see his new haircut? It's horrible.
No.
On that note, completely trade him away.
Yeah, looks like a Legos haircut. If we just look at his stats here, he didn't do anything against the Giants. The Eagles' defense sucks, so that's why he played well. Other than the Denver game, the first couple games of the year, he's been pretty average. So he does have some favorable matchups, though. The Chiefs gives up a lot of points against quarterbacks. Dallas, Washington, the Browns surprisingly do. The Colts surprisingly do. So I guess if you have a quarterback like, I don't know, Kirk Cousins, then sure, trade for Derek Carr. If you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, maybe, sure, you can trade for Derek Carr. But if you have guys like Stafford, Brady, Lamar, Russell Wilson when he comes back, Joe Burrow, even like guys like that, then like I don't think you need to. But if you have like a 10 to 12, 10 to 15 range quarterback, I think you should give it a go. and trade for him because he could be better the second half of the season. So
Yeah, because more than half the season he's crested 20 points. So and that's impressive for more than half the league. So I mean, especially if you're looking to maybe get a backup QB or someone, or your starting QB you think has a really bad matchup. They're going up against a juggernaut of a defense. It wouldn't be a bad pickup.
Yeah, I agree. One last quarterback, just to poke fun at Kyle because he's actually better than Kyle thinks he is. Jalen Hurts, would you trade for or away Jalen Hurts in fantasy?
I think he's worse than what I think he is. Yeah, I've been so up and down about Jalen Hurts, man. Like from a fantasy perspective, I don't think he's a good start anymore. I'd probably trade him away. But
even though he'll play the Giants and the football team,
I mean, you're really waiting until the end of the year to like
playoff push, baby.
Maybe I just non-fantasy perspective, Jalen Hurts is a very good runner and he can make some nice plays. It's just his arm talent's not there right now. I think it does have to do with his coach a little bit, but
I'm just looking at the rest of his schedule, and he plays like the Giants, the Jets, the Washington football team. I mean, he's got some good matchups coming up down the pipe.
I'll say it again, playoff push, baby. That's all it's about.
It just depends what kind of league you have. I know a lot of teams kind of go into the playoffs pretty early. So like your whole league might be done by week 17, So like maybe I know he does play the Jets and Giants before, but I don't know. I'm kind of bullish on Jalen Hurts right now. He had a good matchup against the Detroit Lions, and he only had 12 points. The good thing with him though is like the Eagles suck and they're down in a lot of their games, so they end up throwing at the end of the game. So his fantasy stats lined up pretty decent by the end because he's just tossing it around. So if you're looking at it like that, then yeah, I'd keep him. But I don't think he's a trade for or trade away. I think he's just like, if you have him, good. If you don't go after him. So
Luke, you're gonna disappear for a minute. I'm sorry. Dynasty 14 team, half PPR. Ooh, I'm not good with half PPR. Maybe Kyle will answer this. I was offered DJ Moore for Dylan and Devonta Smith. I wanted to buy low on Moore for a while now. The Hurts owner wants Smith. I have 5 first-round picks and Higgins to build on. Ew. That's disgusting. But first of all, Dylan and Devonta Smith for DJ Moore. I don't know, man. It all depends on how much you trust Sam Darnold. That's your real question you need to answer first. Like, yeah, okay, Moore is low risk, high reward, but without a quarterback to sling it to him, you're basically just giving Devonta Smith away for free, and all it takes is one injury from Aaron Jones, and AJ Dillon becomes a freak in fantasy. So I just, are you a keeper league? That would be my real question. If you're a keeper league. If you're a keeper league, I don't think that I would do it. But you having 5 first-round picks, I mean, it kind of doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, this kind of changes the whole spectrum of the question. I'm 2-7.
If you're rebuilding, I mean, I'd keep Devonta Smith. I don't know if it is keeper, but
listen, man, I'm not stupid in fantasy. I have a really good team, and I'm 3-6. And I understand the feel and the need to just rebuild, but I don't know. Listen, this receiver class is absolutely fantastic. That's what makes me not want to tell you to move off of Smith. Like, his upside to just be the wide receiver one for the Eagles forever is so high. And DJ Moore right now is really just benefiting from like nobody else around him more than like Sam Darnold be like looking for him every week.
Yes.
And you've got McCaffrey coming back, and that dude is a sponge for throws out of the backfield. Like, I just don't. Okay, well, look, that was a good trade. That was a great trade for you. Whoever took Julio, that was not good for them. And Kirk is okay. Kirk Cousins is all right, but I'm not. Kirk is never going to be like a QB1 to me, or even in the top 5. So, and if he is right now, I'm misspeaking, but I highly doubt that he is. So I don't know, man. Yeah, you didn't give anything away to get Smith, but Smith is good. Smith is real good. Also, I'm super biased, man. You're asking the wrong person. I'm sorry. He traded Christian Kirk, not Kirk Cousins. Okay, well, yeah, that was still good because that wide receiver room is super crowded, man. Like, you don't know who Kyler Murray is going to throw to week. It could be Rondale Moore. It could be Christian Kirk. It could be now Zach Ertz. It could be DeAndre Hopkins. It could be AJ Green. Like, you don't know where that ball is going to go. I'm okay with that for Devontae Smith because you know Hurts. Who is Hurts going to throw to? Who is Hurts going to throw to? Truthfully, answer me that one. Jalen Reagor, not going to happen. Quez Watkins, not going to happen. Dallas Goedert, yeah, that's a possibility. I'm with you on that. Not going to go to Miles Sanders or any of those running backs, that's for sure. Yeah, I know. And you see, and if you're in a keeper league like that, Smith, it's gonna come with time. He's a rookie, and listen, if he's hot on Kirk, that take advantage of that mistake, man. I would take it ASAP too and say, "Yep, that's great. I'll take it. It's over. Bye." Yeah, I think you win. Tell you what, I'll offer this to that owner that you're trying to trade with for DJ Moore. Ask him if he'll wait for this Sunday. Give it a Sunday. See what DJ Moore does. If DJ Moore craps the bet again and Devontae Smith does well again, then you have your answer on who to keep. Would you guys agree with that? Question mark.
Yeah,
I think I would.
Yeah, but I'm fully sold that he's just going to come out and crap the bet again. But
yeah.
Let's. Oh, we're getting like real late. Let's wrap up our episode here. Nightmare on Jock Street. I'm just going to ask you both a very quick question to get through that so we can get to Wheel of Fantasy. Okay, there were 2 offenses that really sucked this past week, and it's pretty obvious. It is the Packers offense and the Bills offense. Guys, is this a recurring nightmare, or am I going to have better dreams? Is it going to turn around?
it's going to turn around for Aaron Rodgers. It's going to turn around for the Bills offense.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to turn around for Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. Maybe Aaron Jones, I'm mistaken, but Devontae Adams is very up and down, very up and down. He has 25, then he has 12. He has 29, then he has 10. And it's still decent, but like where you drafted him at, you want that solid like 20 a game, like what Cooper Kupp is getting, you know? So, yeah, I think it's going to be inconsistent. But
let's be truthful. The season that Cooper Kupp is having is the season that Devontae Adams should be having. There's zero reason for that.
Well, Adams had it last year. Maybe not quite as good, but he was killed it last year.
Yep.
So he carried my team. So, yeah, you want him to be better for sure. I don't think you're going to get that from him, but yeah.
Sweet. So now we're going to move on to Wheel of Fantasy. We have a third player this week. Kyle, who won between me and you last week?
You did by 0.5.
Oh, holy smokes, keeping it close.
So we're both off around like 6. Like I was off by 16. You were off by like 15 and a half. So not bad. I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna do it a little bit differently. I had just a bunch of names in one wheel to make it a little bit easier. So here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Look how many names there are.
That's quite a few.
Yep.
Oh, Julio. That's funny. Julio Jones.
How many points do you think he'll have this week, Luke? That's the game that we play. And Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me look. Who are they playing this week?
That's what I'm going to go look up right now. They play the Saints.
Okay. Let's see. Well, you have there. He's now on the Titans, but with an injured Derrick Henry, but they're still committed to running the ball. Projected for around 10-ish points. I'd say he wraps up 13.
I'm of agreement here because I think we both would agree that Julio will not be the threat that Marshawn Lattimore will be assigned to. That most likely will be AJ Brown, which leaves Julio quite wide open to do whatever. I'll give him 14. He did tear apart the Seahawks in week 2. I will give him a solid 14 points for Julio Jones.
I'm going to give him 11.
Nice.
All right. Let's go to our next one.
How many players are we doing while that's going?
Well, we're going to see if we can get a quarterback here. James Conner. Okay. James.
Okay.
Who do they play? I should know this. I have Murray. Oh, they play Carolina. Okay. Yeah, Carolina is a trash bag.
I'm going to give him 12, actually.
I'm going to.
Go ahead, Luke. I'm sorry.
I'll give him 20.
And I think he's going to be hot, but not that hot. I'll give him 18.
Okay. Okay, good. We got a quarterback. Lamar Jackson, who we did last week, I believe, but that's all.
Mhm.
Lamar Jackson, who does he play?
The Dolphins.
Well, I'm going to give him 36, I think.
I'll give him 33.
I'm looking to see how he did against Indy and KC because Indy was 28th at the time. Miami is 27th, and KC is 31. Now, he dropped a solid 49 on Indy, but he dropped 34 on Kansas City. I will take the median and say 38 points.
Okay.
Not the exact median, but just like a median number.
Right, yeah.
All right, so we have a quarterback, running back, and receiver. Going well so far. I have about 50 inputs here, so
Just a few.
like do all 50. This is a good one. CD. Hope he plays this week.
Dear Lord, that music is so loud.
Yeah, that music is very loud.
Well, it gives joy to the podcast. Let it happen.
Yeah, okay. CD plays the Falcons. Ooh. That's a good question. What do I think CD will do?
I'm going to give him 19.
I'm going to take the projected and put him at 15.
I'm going to take the median to you both. I was actually thinking 17 while we were sitting there talking.
Okay.
Just a little bit over, but I think he'll hit his projected.
If there was a volume button on this wheel, I'd lower it, but can't. We're just going with it. Next, we have 2 receivers, a running back, and a quarterback. We're going to take another quarterback. That's Dak Prescott. Okay, here we go. How many points do you think Dak is going to get this week? And it's against the Falcons. I'm going to go 29 for Dak.
I'm going to go 31. I'm a bit more confident.
I was also thinking 31.
Okay. We're going to go like 3 more here, then we'll end it. Hopefully we can get another running back and a tight end here. And speak of the devil, we get Eckler. I'm going to go 22 for Eckler.
Against Minnesota, I'll say 24.
I will one up you both and say 25.
Okay. Is that Kamara? Yes. Okay, good. Alvin Kamara.
Dang.
He'll put up a lot of points, I'm sure.
It's Tennessee.
Oh,
Depends on if he plays.
if he does play.
How likely is it that he plays?
It's just a mild knee sprain. I was just going to
Gotcha.
look at his stats. Huh. This is hard. The last time he played a defense in the top 10, he only scored 7 points.
I'm going to go 17 points for Kamara.
I'll go 16.
I agree with 17. I'm going to stick to 17 because they can't throw the ball, so they're going to have to run.
All right, let's do one more, and then we'll be done. Jonathan Taylor. All right, we're getting some good running backs here.
Some
Jonathan
good running backs.
Taylor.
They play the Jags, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I want to see what he's projected for. He's projected for 17, almost 18. And let's see, he's kind of murdered his projections the last couple weeks.
I'll say 24.
I was going to say 24 as well, Luke.
I'll take 27. I think he'll murder the crap out of the Jags.
Okay. All right. Then we are golden on that. Do we have any other questions or concerns over there in the world of YouTube?
I don't see any. All of our regular people either came or we didn't hear from them.
All righty.
Well, in that case, this has been another episode of Armchair GMs. Please send us your questions, concerns, comments, anything fantasy related. We will answer it and send it back to you, and hopefully it helps you win a fantasy championship, as we always purport that we will do on this podcast. I have been Brad, joined by Kyle and Luke for 1 week. Yay!
Woo! It's been fun.
Thank you for hanging around and asking questions and supporting us. We will see you next Wednesday at 5 o'clock.